Good day. My name is David Wild, and this is the second part of a four-part lecture on Chapter 10 on Innovation and Change from Connect Master Management 2.0. We'll begin by talking about innovation and the industry life cycle. Innovations are related to the emergence, evolution, and decline of industries. The types of innovations that occur will change over the life cycle of an industry's development. In particular, product and process innovations take on varying levels of importance at different stages of the industry life cycle. Some types of innovations will reinforce existing structures in industries, while others will bring about the destruction of established industry structures. So, as you see on the screen before you, you have Figure 2 taken from the text, which is the industry life cycle. Industries have been thought to proceed through 5 distinct phases of development, or an industry life cycle. During the introduction stage, a startup or established company launches an innovation into the market, which marks the birth of a new industry. During the growth stage, the size of the market expands as new buyers come into the market. In this phase, companies aim to develop standards to ensure that all components of a system and the interfaces between its components work well together. Eventually, an industry may reach a shakeout stage, where the rate of growth begins to decline and the level of competition increases. At this stage, process innovations become more important to enhance efficiencies and help firms survive. This process of survival of the fittest ultimately gives rise to the maturity stage. In this phase of the industry life cycle, growth slows to zero or even to negative growth. As growth becomes negative, an industry will experience a condition of overcapacity, which is when the firm's potential output exceeds the industry's needs. The decline stage of the industry life cycle further exacerbates competitive intensity and price-based competition, and firms face choices between exiting the industry altogether or harvesting remaining profit potential and either buying other firms or selling their companies. Sustaining innovations are ones that maximize the technological bells and whistles of a product, adding sophisticated features that valuable customers can appreciate. Disruptive innovations are those that might be inferior in one respect, but offer some compensating advantage that changes the basis of competition. So, in summary on innovation and the industry life cycle. Innovation challenges differ at various stages of an industry's life cycle. For instance, product innovations are more common at earlier stages of the industry life cycle. During the introduction stage, companies try out new product features, and markets can be small and uncertain. Getting customers to adopt a product quickly will be important to generate momentum when strong network effects exist. During the growth stage, firms work to develop technology standards, either informally or through standard-setting organization. During later stages of the industry life cycle, such as shakeout and maturity, process innovations that make firms more efficient can help them survive and be profitable. Not only do innovations change during the industry life cycle, but they can also affect how an industry evolves and which firms win or lose. Finally, disruptive innovations can lead established firms to fail because established firms find it difficult to engage in such innovations for the following reasons. First, they have existing customers to satisfy. Second, they have costs and departments built up that they need to pay for. And thirdly, they may find it difficult to appreciate disruptive innovations compared to sustaining innovations. Now, let's talk about innovation and competitive strategy. When we think about how innovation matters in competitive strategy, it is not simply a matter of how innovative or not a company wishes to be or can be. Rather, the firm needs to decide between the different ways to be innovative. Certainly, as you can see in Table 1 taken from your text, with examples of breakthrough innovations dating back to the 1950s, some of which you will not find very breakthrough based on your frame of reference, but these breakthrough innovations have defined entire industries that have developed and, in some cases, passed as the technology has changed. In referring to the types of innovations, there are many different dimensions along which innovations occur. Broadly, innovations that focus on features of products, such as product innovations, can be differentiated from those that enhance the effectiveness or efficiency of a firm's internal operations, those process innovations. There are also other important dimensions along which innovations differ. First, there is the degree of innovation. Incremental innovations build off existing technologies for existing markets. These are lower risk for companies as well as for customers, and they often involve adding feature improvements. Such changes are also the least threatening to employees in an organization. On the other hand, radical innovations use novel methods or inputs and create new markets. For example, short distance travel has been changed dramatically by electric vehicles, shared vehicles, and even self-driving vehicles today. The source of innovation. Another distinction between innovations concerns the source of ideas from which innovations originate. In the past, companies often followed a closed approach to innovation that prioritized their own ideas and inventions and their own control over the commercialization of technology. This closed model of innovation emphasized that the firm had to employ the right people and undertake the various stages of the innovation process itself. The firm needed to get ideas and inventions out of its own internal R&D efforts to make sure such investments were productive. It would then be able to get to market first with innovations as well as to control intellectual property so that other companies would not earn profits from the underlying ideas and inventions. Several internal and external changes highlight some of the limitations of the closed model, however. To begin with, it became evident that some firms were suffering from a not invented here syndrome. Firms following a closed approach can begin to think that the firm's own people, ideas, and technologies are the best, and the innovations from other firms are necessarily inferior. The availability and attractiveness of external sources of innovation were also facilitated by the rise of startups, which were fueled by venture capital financing and the mobility of scientists and engineers. Often, startups were founded by employees of established companies or universities, so they already had experience working with talented, skilled workers. In addition, some firms and industries were becoming more specialized, so a firm could partner with others rather than doing all phases of innovation itself. In short, a new model of open innovation is today emerging from these changes. Now, let's talk about value innovation and specifically the blue ocean strategy. The impact of innovation on firms and their competitive advantages ultimately hinges upon how innovation shapes the values customers attach to firms' products and services and the cost of producing them. The blue ocean strategy is a new way of bringing innovation into competitive strategy, and its key strength is to put the customer at the center of innovation. It also provides a way of demonstrating how innovation matters for strategy in shaping the value companies can create. Blue ocean strategy, also called value innovation, partly represents a new philosophy of competitive strategy. The reason why blue ocean strategy is also called value innovation is that such changes in businesses have an effect on the value that firms can create. By creating new differentiators and enhancing others, this increases customers' willingness to pay. Managers can use value curves to depict how their offerings compare with other firms. Value curves depict the bases along which firms compete, how they are different, and how they provide value to customers. So, in summary on innovation and competitive strategy, firms compete by engaging in a range of innovations. Some are more incremental or closely built off existing technologies for existing markets. These are lower risk, affordable, and easy to communicate to customers. More radical innovations are risky, but hold the potential for enormous profits and growth. Increasingly, firms are moving to a more open model of innovation that involves collaboration with startups, universities, and business partners, rather than relying on in-house departments for inventions and standalone commercialization. Value innovations are product and process innovations that enable firms to create value by increasing the value a customer obtains from a product while simultaneously reducing cost. And finally, the blue ocean strategy entails carrying out value innovation to find a market that is not contested yet by rivals. And with that, we'll end the second part of our four-part lecture on innovation and change.